our engineer.
Yes, sir. And we're working on a format where if you need to start sharing PowerPoints, you can go on the presentation, and you can share from screen, and then I can rearrange the pictures. We're trying to work on that now. Also, if you double click in the box for all the screens, it will go widescreen so you can see everybody a little up closer and everybody can see you. But I can't get you isolated yet by yourself.
Okay, so tell me where that is where I can make y'all widescreen because I'm not
Just
sure I'm.
double click in the box in the box like in between the lines between us, and it should go to full screen.
Your full screen.
Yeah, and then all you got to do is hit escape, and that'll take you out of full screen mode, and then you'll be able. That way, you can see us and we can interact. And if you need to be on mute, like Larry, everybody's mostly on mute right now. You need to speak. Unmute yourself. If not, I can do that too.
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
Yes, sir.
So we are in the title of this course as it's presented here is The Life and the Work of a Preacher or Evangelist. And I don't want to insult your intelligence by reading what you have in front of you, but I have found through the years it's necessary just to highlight some of the things that we find in there. I have taught this course two different ways. I would say three, because what I do now is kind of a hybrid of the first two. When I was at Faulkner University, Wendell Winkler was the head of the Bible department. That's probably a name you might know. He's passed away almost 20 years ago this fall. But you maybe know the Sound Doctrine for Daily Living series, Christian and His Influence, church everybody's talking about. You probably know him better through his sons, Dan and Mike, that have been and are still preaching. But the first several years that I taught this, I leaned heavily on that material and material that I wrote to augment that. I still will insert a lot of that as we go along. But I found several years into teaching this that there was kind of a discouragement among and at Bear Valley at the time. A lot of those guys were younger, and they maybe felt that they would preach if they were kind of acting out of just a mere sense of duty. But there was a bit of discouragement, and they'd heard and I think misapplied a statement that if you can do anything else, if you can help it, don't preach. And they perhaps were being tempted to say, okay, well, I don't know that it's not a work that always feels passionate, and so maybe I ought not to do that. So I kind of adapted my approach, and we'll talk more about that. And this course now more follows the life of Jesus, the preacher. We're going to look into various aspects of his life, and you'll see that reflected in the syllabus. If you look at the course description, what we're going to look at is the personal and the professional and the people-centered aspects of the preacher's life. So as we examine the life of a preacher, peculiarly among all professions, it all kind of seems to go together, doesn't it? It's not like you punch a clock. It's not like you start working in ministry and then you stop working. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It's not a Monday through Friday job. I know maybe you've heard people make the joke that preachers work 3 or 4 hours a week. Those are folks who never tried to do the work. In fact, trying to find balance in life is something we're going to talk about, because you could God gives us 168 hours a week. You could spend 100 of those doing ministry, but you should not. And we'll talk about how to have that work-life balance that we need. But there's a personal life. I don't know if you guys have ever known preachers who were gifted and were very successful in ministry, but their personal life was a shamble. I think the Bible gives us individuals like David. David was a military hero. He was a national hero. He was a spiritual hero. But what was life like at home for him? He was a train wreck as a father, and really in a lot of respects as a husband. So the preacher must give thought to his life and how that he has a responsibility, a devotional life with God, a character and integrity that ought to characterize his life. We're going to look at Jesus' life as an example for that. And then there's a professional side. We're going to talk about the various aspects of ministry, from personal evangelism to counseling to doing visitation and the various types of that. And then we're going to look at the people-centered aspects, so that no matter what we're talking about, there's no phase of ministry that does not in some way directly impact the work of ministering to God's people and to the lost people of this world. So we're going to do that by the lens of Jesus, and we'll make application as we look into that. Each section of this class will begin by looking at Jesus and his example there. You'll see the learning objectives, but by the end of the course, this is the goal I have for you as students. Number one, to study the biblical instruction and examples for today's preacher. We're going to go into the Old Testament and New Testament to look at various examples for us. And we're going to look at principles and passages that also do the same for us. Number two, to appreciate the impact made by the preacher and his family on the local church. Not just what we do when we're in the pulpit and in the classroom, but all the more as we live our lives among the folks to whom we minister. Number three, learn the challenges and difficulties that are part of being a preacher and how you manage these. I tell guys all the time, this is the best life there is. There is no life that compares to the life of the preacher. But it's like anything else. We're in a fallen world. We're sinners among sinful people, and we're going to face challenges and difficulties. Every day is not a banner day. We had our second service here, our second Sunday. First Sunday, we had an ice storm. We still had a decent crowd, but we had a record crowd on Sunday morning, and that's exciting. We had a lot of visitors from the community, folks we've never seen before, but that's an atypical Sunday. It's not usually like that. And this has been a great work, but there are challenges daily that are part of it. Number four, the objective is to grow our commitment to excellence and productivity as a preacher. You're time managers, and there are so many things pulling at you. How do you prioritize that? How do you invest the resource? You think about, you go to bed every day, that is one less day that you have to serve the Lord. And you can't get everything done in a day. And so how are you going about trying to arrange your life and your time so that you can give the Lord the best and the most? There are so many years that we have to give in service to the Lord. I don't know how many of you guys know Larry Acuff or knew Larry Acuff. He was a preacher. He did. He was preaching in Lithia Springs. By the way, my brother-in-law preceded him. Bud Woodall, James Woodall, was the preacher before Larry went there 20 years ago. And so I know that worked very well. Brother Larry was 84. He retired, 3 months before he died of a massive heart attack. He did a great work. He was a very fruitful and productive servant of God, but there's a shelf life. There's a time in which we can't do that anymore. And, one of the buzzwords is the legacy. What kind of legacy are we leaving for the Lord's church, for our family, for ourselves, and obviously most of all for God? Number five, to have the confidence to do the work of a local preacher, equipped with insights and tools that will facilitate this. I want this, and I hope that this class will be practical, that there are tools I can put in your hand that will help you to be able to do this work to the best of your ability. Number six, to appreciate true biblical balance in preaching duties and personal life. I'll try not to overly use that terminology, but balance is the key. Balance is what keeps us on the level. And you're constantly going to be trying to keep life in balance, because you don't cease to have family responsibilities because you preach. You don't cease to have the personal relationship needs with you and God. You don't cease to have financial pressures that face you. And you don't cease to have people issues, good and bad, that are pulling at you. And so balance is going to be important. If you'll notice in the required textbooks, there'll be the versions that you see there. There is a required textbook, but I believe you've been informed of that, right? Sean Mathis's book, Man of God. Do all of you have that in your possession yet?
I do.
Okay.
I'm waiting on mine. I have in the line of his work. I have your book.
Okay.
We're waiting on the other book.
Okay.
They should be here. They should be here any day. So if you haven't got a book, please let Dave know or let me know, and I'll make sure you get the information.
And it's not urgent that you have it in your hand today, but we are. It is the required textbook for this class, and there will be a midterm exam and a final exam on that. We'll talk about that in just a moment. It just really does the best job I know of covering all the various bases that are involved in ministry. It is an older book, I understand that, but it seems to have remained pretty timeless in a lot of its regards, and so I've continued to use it. I think it's great. If you'll notice the recommended textbooks that I have on here, especially now, none of those men are gospel preachers. They're not members of the Lord's church. But there are some fantastic resources in that. I would just say anything by Paul David Tripp is going to challenge you, and Dangerous Calling, confronting the unique challenges of, he calls it pastoral ministry. If you can spit out those bones, there's some fantastic principles in that book. I'm aware that there are others. Tom Holland had a great book that was used for a long time on the preacher's work. So we'll talk about catalog of resources. Now let's get to the grading rubric real quick and talk about what's going to be expected of you in the academic side, the grading side of this class. We're going to have memory work as we walk through the class. Believe we have it in here just below. There are 16 assignments. So if you can kind of do the math, we'll do 8 of those in the first quarter, 8 of those in the second quarter. We'll fairly well follow the schedule that you have. For the sake of standardization, I don't know if I have this in here, so that's why I want to make sure that I let you know this. I'm not stating a preference of version by doing so, but I want to standardize, makes it easier for grading. And so the tests from these particular passages will come from the New American Standard Bible. So as you study, it'll be fill in the blanks. So it won't be necessary for you to, it'd be great. I encourage it. I try to practice it, to memorize it so that you could regurgitate it in full if you needed to, but I'll just leave out some blanks, probably anywhere from 15 to 20, depending on the length of the passage, for you to demonstrate that you've spent time trying to work on that. Memorization of Scripture is good for our preaching. It's good for our hearts, and it really demonstrates that the emphasis of what we have to say is rooted in Scripture. So I believe, and it'll help you mentally in other ways. Going back up to the rubric, your notebook is 10% of your grade, and we will provide any guidance that you need on that. Obviously, I expect to be taking notes through each of these sessions when we get into the material. There's a weekly reading assignment, and that's 1st and 2nd Timothy and Titus. Now, I want to make sure that I emphasize this, and this is something, if you have some way to highlight it and emphasize it, I want you to do it. This is a zero-sum assignment. This is an easy way to get 1/10 of the way to 100 in my class, but it's also an easy way to make an A- no matter how good a work you do otherwise. It is a requirement in these 16 weeks that you read that at least once every week. So 1st and 2nd Timothy and Titus, you're required for this class to read every week. Now here, you can do it through YouVersion and audio, or whatever Bible audio program that you use. But if it's 12:01 on Monday of the next week and you didn't do it, then you're not going to get credit for it. So if you listen or read for 15 weeks and you miss one, unfortunately, that's going to be a 0. So that's an easy way. At 1st and 2nd Timothy, what are we talking about there? 13 chapters. So it won't take you that long at all. It's very vital to the life and work of the preacher, and will help us in what we discuss in this class. Any questions about that or the two previous things so far? Yes, sir.
Funny enough, this was probably a month ago when I referenced it or saw it, but can't remember if it was Guy in Woods or Gus Nichols who had a little miniature sermon on YouTube, and they mentioned that they read that each week. I didn't know if you got it from there or not.
No, I didn't, but I've heard that. Really, the religious world calls these the pastoral epistles. Two preachers younger than Paul, that Paul just ladens those letters with material that are practical to the preacher's life. And so they call them that for a reason. It's really a guideline, an outline for the preacher. And I think that's probably why Woods and Nichols did that. Good reference. But anyway.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Just to make sure I heard you right, you want all three read every week?
All three read every week.
Yes, sir.
So 8 weeks in the first quarter, I think, approximately. So each week that we meet in that week's time, you read it once. Okay. Now, and here's something else. Just make sure we're not misunderstanding the assignment. If you miss a week, that doesn't mean you can read it twice another week and make up for it. So wherever it's prominent for you to remember this, make sure that because at the end of class, and that's the other test that you'll take, that's between you and God. I'm going to ask you to sign off on that. And if you will sign your name to the fact that you've done that, you'll get credit for it. Okay? All right, number 4, we'll have a midterm exam. When we get to that midterm exam, I will walk you through everything that's going to be on the test. It'll be short answer. It'll be fill in the blank. There'll be some multiple choice. There'll be some true false. I will also always include extra credit. I just want to make sure that you're absorbing what we're teaching in class. The final exam will also be 10% of your grade. There are a variety of sermons that you'll be required to do for this class, and we'll talk more about those as we go through the course. That's also 10%. A rather ambitious, and maybe some of you guys feel like writing is a strength. Others of you may feel like it's a weakness if it's like any other class I've ever taught. But under the auspices of writing makes an exact man, I'm giving you a variety of subjects on which to write. And each week, by the time we meet for class on Tuesday, you will have due to me an article on one of those subjects. As we get to that, if you'll notice further down under articles, let's just go down to that real quick. It says the student will write one article per week, due every Tuesday by class time, including research week, on the following subjects. All right, so I'll just kind of explain a few things that may need some help. A denominational error. Now, I don't want you to write on denominational error. I want you to choose a denominational error. So, for example, faith only, or the direct operation of the Holy Spirit, some infant baptism for the dead, just some denominational doctrine, and write about that. Because balance in our emphasis in writing and preaching and teaching and so forth will necessitate that we address the pleasant and the unpleasant. This would be one I would think, and I would want you to think about your local work. Is there something that from a denominational standpoint that people struggle with? If so, I think it'd be wise for you to try to write on that. And so you can practice the speaking the truth in love and trying to deal with that. Commending and encouraging the congregation. Try to think in specific terms. See, now what you can do, I love this idea, since all of you are in ministry, to work harder. I mean, not work harder, but work smarter. Maybe these are things that you can then turn around and use in your local work. And you'll find that you're going to be addressing a lot. Now, not all of you guys have elders, so maybe your article is the importance of having elders in the local church, or what the church, why this is God's plan. If you do have elders, perhaps find some way to deal with it. So my point is in all of this is to to be specific within each of those categories. Does that make sense? An Old Testament character study, Jonah, Noah, Artaxerxes, whoever you want to pick out. So, and that's the way it will work all the way through the 2 quarters. Any questions about the articles?
How long
Article
do you
length. Yeah.
Okay, about 300 words. So I don't know if you guys, if it's an electronic bulletin only, then you aren't really as restricted. If you do a printed bulletin, and many of us still do, then you're trying to think about how you're going to fit that in with everything else that goes in a bulletin. 300 words is about what will fit comfortably on the front of an 8.5 by 14 folded over bulletin. Okay.
First
All right.
one due next Tuesday, right?
Next Tuesday. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions about the articles? And now, some of us are math and science people, and some of us are English and history people. You may not be the best grammarian, but you're writing papers, and you do want to put your best foot forward as we represent Christ. So, yes, I am going to grade for grammar as well as content. I'll give more weight to content, but here's how I want you to see that as me helping you. If you have a problem with comma splices, you're going to be sick of the red ink on your paper with me saying there's another one, or sentence fragments and that sort of thing. But I'm not a grammar Nazi. I am more interested in the content, but I want to help us to be our very best. Okay. The project, I'm going to spend some time just talking about that. It is, as you can tell, a very important part of the work that we do in this class. If you'll go all the way down toward the end of your syllabus, it's right before the grading scale. You'll see talking about the projects. You will have a 3-fold project to do by the end of this class, in which you will do the 3 following things. Number 1, you're going to develop a congregational theme for a year with 12 sermons specifically related to that theme, and through that, persuading others of its importance. Now, the question that always comes up, I'm not asking you to write 12 sermons. Okay, so that's the good news. That'll be something, this is a primer for you doing this in local work. And I'm going to have to tell you guys, the first time I taught preaching his work in School of Preaching environment was 2008 or 9. And I've done this from the very beginning. Not sure where I got it from. It's not original with me. But guys have told me repeatedly through the years that they have incorporated this and they have made it a part of their local work, and it has helped them. Because, I mean, you guys, are there weeks where you go, well, I don't know what I'm going to preach this Sunday? Have you ever dealt with that at all? Or am I the only one where I need direction? This what we're going to do in this project will help us with that. Make sure we're diverse and balanced in what we're doing and not preaching our favorite subject every other week, right? But if you have elders or even in a men's meeting, to be able to come in and say, hey, here's what I propose this year. How about this thing that's matched? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an imaginary congregation. It may or may not be similar to the one where you're actually working. But it helps me to give you some criteria that maybe there's a various denominational background in the city, or maybe the church is young physically, or maybe it's a new congregation in the area, or maybe it's been there for 100 years and it's dying, or the industries have left town. So I'm going to give you a scenario, and everything that you do is going to be aimed at what you would do in that congregation. Okay. But you'll be able to very easily adapt that. And so in 26, you could develop a theme for the congregation where you preach, take it into the elders or the men and say, hey, I'd like for us to do this this year. So Hiram and I get together in November before the new year, or usually earlier than that. And we look at what our overall goals are for the congregation here, and then what's the next step. And so this year, with us moving to new facilities, and we've had a lot of baptisms and growth, our theme is going to be to God be the glory. And one of our strategies that we have done alongside of these themes every year is we have a workshop called Equip that we started a couple of years ago. And this year we're going to do studies in Isaiah. Man, what a book to talk about the glory of the Lord, right? And so everything kind of fits back with the theme. And so he and I will preach about a dozen sermons between us in our unique arrangement that emphasize that theme throughout the year. And then our preaching kind of revolves around regularly touching base in that, even as we talk about everything that every congregation needs. I'm preaching on marriage this Sunday night. Every church needs that. And child rearing, being better Bible students, being more consecrated people of prayers in the various spiritual disciplines, distinctive living in the world, just all that needs to happen. Commitment, involvement, discipleship, and so forth. So you're going to develop a congregational theme for the year. With what you will do is you'll give me sermon titles and a very brief 1 or 2 sentence synopsis for why you're preaching that particular sermon. Okay, and alongside of that, number 2, I'll let you ask questions. I know that you'll have them. Develop a 52-week schedule of sermons, 104 in all, that follows a logical rationale. Whatever your theme is, even though you're not going to preach on that theme every time you get in the pulpit, I want to see that you're taking a comprehensive view of the church that I give you, and your sermons will reflect that. So you're going to give me titles and text. You don't have to give me a skeletal outline, but I don't just want the truth. John 18:36. I would need to be more specific than that. So give me an indication that you've thought through with some brainstorming what I'm going to preach every Sunday morning and Sunday night. I know none of us preach 104 times in a year, but what that does is, if you use that as a checklist, I've preached all these sermons, maybe you have some left over. That makes planning for the next year all the easier. And then number 3, develop a congregational program of work for a calendar year, using judgment and common sense based on the congregational profile that's assigned to you for the class. So if you are in a town that's depressed because industry has left and a lot of your younger people have left, and you find yourself in a graying congregation, what kind of theme would you want to pursue for that? So you'd give thought to that. Here's your process. And then what kind of activities would you plan to try to help the church to turn that around and to grow in an environment like that? And so you think about activities and events that a church may do, whether it's some kind of a seminar, whether it's some kind of community outreach or whatever it is. Your congregational program of work for the year 2026 will be used in order to try to help you to emphasize that theme and to help the church to respond to the direction that you're giving it as a gospel preacher. All right, now that's kind of the overflight of that. So what questions do you have about the project? And if they don't come to you now, and I think they will, some of them, you can feel free to ask me during class at any time. But what questions right off top of mind do you have?
Well, personally, I already have my theme because I looked at the syllabus.
Okay.
And trying to plan. We're going to. I know in the Middle Georgia area, we're going to be doing heart to heart, house to house, and that doesn't start until October. But there has to be a lot of pre-planning for that. It has to have. You have to help develop the congregation, and my plan will not include any of the material that Heart to Heart will be giving us. I have to ramp up to that. So I think that's different things that's important.
Now I appreciate that. I appreciate you being a self-starter, Mike. This particular assignment will be based on that fictional church that I give you. I randomly pull that and then give it to you. And then your theme will need to, for this assignment, will need to be tailored to that church. Because what I want you to do in that assignment is to, you may die there in that work and never go anywhere else. But I want you to be able to analyze the circumstances of where you are. I've never done it this way. I'm just thinking out loud with you.
So all three are going to coincide. Exactly.
They're all going to coincide, but what I may do, I've never taught this class to where, even the first time I taught it at GSOT, that every man was already in local work. Typically, it's been guys who are full-time students sitting in a classroom. Here's what I will let you do. But it's going to be all or nothing. Let me ask you this. Would you all prefer to do a congregational theme exercise based on the church where you're currently preaching? Okay, I would think maybe that's the case. But here's what I need you to do. I'm going to give you a couple of samples of what I normally do so that you can find out what it is that I'm looking for. In other words, I want you to do a breakdown of kind of the age demographics, the challenges in the area, maybe what some of the denominational groups that have greater influence in the community are. I grew up in Georgia. Probably it's going to be Baptist and Methodist, whether you're in Alabama or Georgia, as the predominant local church issues. There may be specific things, an economic picture. Is it depressed? Is it growing? Is it static? What's the age demographics of the congregation? Is a specific a picture as you can draw me. Elders, no elders, that sort of thing. Yes, sir.
Claxton is a town of 2,978 people total, and there are 4 Baptist churches. So,
yeah. So that gives you. See, that's one of the main pieces you'd want to see. Is there anybody who it may not be the case, but is there somebody else in a ministry role there? Are there elders? If there are elders, are there deacons? Anything like that you can share with me, including, and then this will be kept. I'm obviously not going to mail this out to your congregation or anything, but challenges, right? Maybe you want to keep that somewhat nebulous, but if there's kind of a Diotrephean spirit who's a part of the congregation, if there is if worldliness in some particular way is a challenge in that work, I want that, but I'm going to give you a couple of samples of what I've always given out in class so that you kind of know what I'm looking for. And then I want you to draw that up for me so I know what the church is, the challenges and the opportunities where you are. Okay. So this is a change we've just made right here in class, live together. And I'll need to get that from you probably in the next week or two. Okay. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Sam.
Now these 3 projects, are they due at the end of the second semester, or are we doing them this semester?
Second.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Because a lot of what I'll be seeking from you it'll be wise for you to receive some of the teaching we're going to do in that second quarter. And it also gives you more time. I want you to, really, especially tailoring the assignment this way with you guys already being in local work. And think in terms of not 25, but think in terms of 26. Not only are you getting credit for a course, but you're helping to plan for making 26 an easier year for you in your preaching, because it really does help you to kind of have a direction and know where it's kind of like going to a basketball game without goals. How fun would that be? But you have direction that'll help you to know where you're going. All right, Mike, did you have a?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Brother Paula, because the realization of what we are in our work right now is important. So we cannot. I like to use what I'm learning in class and make it applicable as soon as possible to help grow the congregation. And I'll just tell you my thought, because I was thinking about the plan of scheme of redemption, the things that are not being taught that are misunderstood within the congregation. And that also helps me submit the information that I need and combat false teaching in the area that I'm in. And then there's a group, but demographics and everything else is more, I think is important because that'll give you a complete picture. And then the work that we're doing now, it'll be tangible for me because of my situation.
Well, give thought to how many newer Christians do you have, or are there not many new Christians? There's so many different variables that I want you to give thought to. And by the way, when it comes to a theme, you're thinking about something that you're going to try to present to leadership and the congregation as a whole. You want it to be something that people can kind of call to mind easily. And I love, by the way, scheme of redemption is one of my favorite subjects. But you'll probably want to dress that up and not just make the thing the scheme of redemption.
No, it's reach one, teach one. It's reach one, teach one. I'm trying to keep it short, sweet, and deal with it so it can stay on their mind and they can keep working a family atmosphere and attitude. Don't make the work so big. Make it small and personal. Just try to reach one at a time.
Okay. All right. I think that's good. All right.
You're welcome.
So a theme with 12 sermons that are specifically, and what I would suggest is that Sunday morning once a month. That's when you have the most people present. It's where you can have a more maximum impact. And you think about those. This is a lot to accomplish without giving me a skeletal outline. To let that title really tell me how you're trying to persuade people of the importance of your theme through that title. If it's textual, then let me know that. So you have that sentence or two synopsis with each of those 12 sermons to kind of give me an idea of those sermons. You do not have to give me a synopsis for the other, what would that be, 92 sermons. I just want subjects, if they're textual, what text, if it's topical and it's not clear from the title what the topic is, to let me know that you're thinking in terms of more as broadly as possible, trying to be balanced and reaching that congregation. The 52-week schedule of sermons, put it on some kind of a grid for me. I have a Mac, so I use numbers. What's the Excel spreadsheet or some way that gives me a kind of a grid view, okay, of those sermons. And then the congregational program of work, give some thought to the looks of it, right? So we're thinking like a booklet. It's going to be electronic, but a color cover to it. Maybe some graphics, maybe some pictures of the local church, those kinds of things. With Facebook or a website, there are pictures that you can draw from to put that in there. Personalizes it for the church where you are. And make the pitch. If you have some particular special plan for VBS that fits your theme, think as if you're not just giving this to me, but that you're presenting this to the congregation and you want them to get on board. And so be creative, be persuasive in that, but don't write a book because people, if it gets too long, people won't read it, right? So you've wasted your time and it's not going to be useful. But take the time necessary to really get people excited about it, okay? All right, so any other questions about the project? Okay. The grading scale is pretty self-explanatory. I've never, ever had an incomplete with a student, but I realize that things can happen. And I think you guys probably let me know if you have some question about how that policy works. It's pretty standard. And I anticipate you'll all start and finish. Okay. Just a note, my email, and this will be important because I'll be sending out today, and this is where you'll send you'll scan your memory work, and then do you all have the ability to scan?
So the memory work's not going to be an LMS?
Huh? Or submit it through LMS. We have a different system now than the last time, so I need to talk to Dave about how I get access to the LMS.
Yeah, Dr. Steersman does it to where he puts I don't know how much work it might be on for you, so you be the judge of that. But Dr. Steersman has it to where the memory verses are on there with blanks, and we fill out the memory work just on there, filling in the blanks, which is kind of sounding like what you want done as well on there. So Dr. Steersman does it that way. I don't know how he does it. So,
Okay. Well, I may reach out to him and find that out because
Yeah.
I've not done that. Didn't do that last time. Yes, sir.
and then that will be set up to the specific version that you want, like I believe Dr. Steersman does ESV.
Mhm.
So it'll be all the memory verses are in ESV. So if you want New American Standard or what have you, put it in that way.
Yeah, there's a way that it can be set up through the quiz section of the LMS to where it just grades it automatically. If you put the New American Standard in there as your rubric, then it will grade the papers. It will grade the memory work. So
Okay, that's something I'm going to need to talk to Dave or Daniel about. Yes, sir.
The other thing is your quiz for midterm and finals could also be on there too.
Okay.
And for the member work, usually we have like the first 10 minutes of class once you start, but I know our time is different. So you can have the memory work open up at, let's say if you want to say 10:20, and but see other people are still in class on taking Hebrews. So the first 10 minutes of class, the memory work, the portal opens up in the LMS, and you have 10 minutes or 15 minutes to finish the memory work.
Yeah, we'll probably take the first 10 minutes of class to do that. So 10:30 to 10:40, and then we'll close the window there. That's probably a good way to do that. Obviously, this goes without saying, it's a closed book test, but just want to make sure I said that out loud. All right.
Mhm.
So I'll talk with them. That sounds like a technical, but is there a way through LMS to submit your articles, like papers?
I don't know about that. Might be easier just to email you the articles and and
I
do it
agree.
that side of it.
I don't think Dave wants anything done through email though. He's made that.
Oh,
Well, I'll make this suggestion for you. Since it's a weekly discussion board and you're not going to have discussion questions, we can copy and paste our articles into the discussion board, and Brother Pollard can get everybody's article on one thing, and he can go from
yeah,
there.
there's that.
You could do that. That way it's easier for you. You're not jumping all over the place looking for the articles. They're there,
Okay.
and that's weekly.
You type it up on Word or Pages,
Yeah.
whichever one, and then just copy it into the discussion.
Okay. I'll just have to figure out how to get that back to you graded. I'm certainly.
You're always welcome to give A's.
Oh,
That's
well,
how you could grade it.
I'll take y'all order them. I'll give them. I
A's
promise.
across the board, and it's all taken care of.
Yeah, all you probably have to do, brother Paula, is copy and paste and put it into the Word doc, and then you can grade it and send it back to us that way, or email us that way. Dave has it because we don't use this discussion board as much as we need to. We need to start using it. I think that'd be a great way for you to look for everything, and then that way, no one can say they didn't have a chance for the week to get the information there.
So is there in the current LMS, is there a way to send attachments? There was before. So file attachments.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yes, there is. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
About
keep going.
the sermons, as far as for like the wedding and the funeral, do you have a specific style you want us to write in or anything like that?
So what I would want you to do is to not, I can't remember where this shows up in the course, but I would not want, and sometimes guys do that because you're trying to get ahead and get everything done. But you'll want to wait till we've talked about weddings and funerals before you write that, and I'll give you some guidance on what I'm looking for. So especially on a wedding, there's a format or template kind of that is typically followed, and I want to kind of lay that out for you.
Yeah, I'd like that. I have to do a wedding in April. So.
I hear you. So I don't know exactly when it comes up, but I'll also give you samples. So that will
Okay.
help you. Okay. I see an attachment button right there, Mike.
Yeah, it's I pulled up so you can see it. So under the quiz, there's nothing under there, but you can list that. But under the discussion button, that comes up, you can put your comment in and say for wherever for that week, and we can all comment under that.
Okay.
And then like for your resources, that's the information that we have for that.
Okay.
Let me give y'all a heads up. When you try to convert your file, if you want to print out the attachments, you need to open it up in Google Chrome. It won't open up in Word.
Correct.
So you need to be able to do that. And then that way you can be able to see it, because some of the handouts are, a little lengthy for information. Like there's a 40-page, and I love it. So I print my stuff out. So I want to give everybody a heads up on that. And then.
And I see that Dave again has put Man of God Part 1 in there. That's just so if you don't have your book yet, you can get started and not be behind the 8 ball when the assignments of the quarter begin to pile up. So that's good. Yeah, and I can't. I use a Mac, and Safari is the default browser. I had to open up StreamYard in Google Chrome. I'm sure you guys had to do the same thing. So. Now, I'm assuming that we need to have documents back and forth in Word. Is that right? That's typically the case. I use Pages and export to Word, and I'm sure that's what I need to do here. Okay.
All yes, right. Sir.
Okie doke.
Yeah.
Any more questions about that? I am going to give my email because I just can't think that in 2 quarters of time that we won't need that. And just in your subject line, just give me a heads up that it's you. As you can imagine, just being in ministry, get a lot of emails. Still, I know people are going away from email. I get that, but for whatever reason, I get a lot of them. It's Mr. Neil Pollard at gmail.com. MrNeilPollard at gmail.com. Mr. Neil Pollard.
They've also, Mr. Neil, they've got that at the top of the.
Is it on the syllabus?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I see it. Okay, I could have saved that time. I'm sorry about that.
No. I'm glad you went through it. That way we know that's the right one.
Okay. 3 excused absences, and that to be excused, I need to know about it ahead of time. And I'll just read the language there. This is core to all of your courses, not unique with me. An excused absence is one that the instructor is informed about ahead of time, if possible, or is a genuine reason for missing class. Each absence exceeding the 3 absence limit impacts the grade by 5% per absence. I don't anticipate this will be a problem for you, but there's the policy right there. And you have a handbook that covers all that is a part of being a student in the school here that you're going to be more familiar with than I am, although I have access to that. All right. Any questions about the syllabus? Okay. It has worked out well that gospel meetings on my calendar are going to be in the 2nd quarter, and gospel meetings never are an impediment to teaching the class. I'll be remote. I'll be somewhere else during those weeks, and that'll impact the Tuesday class, not the Thursday. Next week, I'm appearing on the Focal Point program in San Marcos, Texas, and it will impact the Thursday class. It's possible this will be the only time in the entire 2 quarters that I might have to pre-record the class. I don't like to do that. I'd rather us be live together in class. But I will let you know Tuesday, if I feel like that's going to be necessary. I don't know that it will. I've got to speak Thursday, and I don't have the schedule in front of me. It may be a time of conflict. And if it is, then obviously I can't be 2 places at once. So I'll have to pre-record that. That's it. Just January, unless something local work comes up. Last time I taught, it seemed like there was a time or two where either a funeral or something interfered. And on an occasion like that, I'll give you an assignment, a research assignment that you can do in place of class time. Okay, that's all I have on the syllabus. What questions do you have either about that or about the class in general? Okay.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, starting Tuesdays, you said the next Tuesday, we will be doing when class actually will start, the teaching will actually start, and we will start with First and Second Timothy, if I understood that correctly.
Okay, so class technically started today. This will be your shortest week of the entire course. That is the shortest week that you have to do First and Second Timothy and Titus. But week one of the reading is this week that we're in, and you'll go. So next week be the second read through of First and Second Timothy and Titus. So you are required to read it this week as well. That's a good question. Okay, so I'll make sure we're clear on that. Sometime between now and Saturday night, read First and Second Timothy and Titus this week, and then each week will go the same way until the last week of the course. All right, thank you.
And our memory work starts on Thursday, right? 2 Timothy 4:1 through 8.
I don't have that plugged into the schedule. Notice that there are 16, and it'll work out to approximately every other class. There may be a time or two where we do 2 in 1 week. Your first memory work assignment will be next Tuesday.
Okay, yeah, that gives you time to get to the LMS. All right.
Huh?
What'd you say it was, Mike?
I said that MS so Dave and I can.
Yeah, absolutely. It's this first one is more for me. I need to buy some time to get acclimated to the LMS. Yeah.
No, brother, that's all right, brother. We appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Well, I've taught this various ways. The last time was the first time I've ever done it virtually. I've always been. And by the way, I never can sit down to teach. I just it's personal. I know guys are very at home doing that, but I'm not, even virtually. I just not that I think great in any way, but I think better on my feet than I do sitting down. So that's why I went and got out of the high school classroom over there and went and got the podium so that I'd have that. But I want to keep this environment as real life as we can, and that's why we're going to try to conduct it the way we've set it up. All right. Any other questions generally? I'm not going to try to introduce the course today because we're going to run out of time in about 10 minutes. So that'll be time that you get back to start working on things and assimilating what we got here. Any other questions?
Now, just another quick comment. When you talk to Brother Steersman, Dr. Steersman, and Dave, if you want to share PowerPoints or anything like that, you hit that presentation button, and then you're able to share notes, whatever you want, and that way you feel comfortable. And we'll all be able to see it on the screen. Right now, we're trying to adjust it where the screen was set up where you're the main speaker on the screen. So we're playing with that right now. And then everybody else will be on the side, or if you have notes. Brother Steersman is great with that. So, he'll be able to help you with that. And if you need anything, just reach out and I'll try to help you out as much as possible.
Okay. And I do have a PowerPoint with this. And so it'll help you as you're taking notes and we're going through to have that. And what I may need to do is just have, because of the way I'm teaching classes, is to have a remote and be able to drive my PowerPoint as I go through from this distance, or I may be able to project it from my phone onto the computer and have the same effect. But I'll talk with them about the logistics of it for sure.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, you can send me the PowerPoint and I'll put it up on the screen as we go. Okay.
Yes, sir, Mike.
I have a quick question in regards. You said that our notebooks will be 10% of our grade. How's that going to transpire? Or is it an honor system thing, or am I going to send you my notebook?
You're going to send me your notebook electronically. in PDF or Word format. That will
See,
let me.
I don't take notes that way. I take notes on paper. So
Okay.
I guess I'd have to retype them all then, wouldn't I?
No, not necessarily. See, I don't know what do
Look at
you.
Mike grinning. Look at Taylor grinning. You know
Well,
I'm a terrible typist, Michael. You know that.
do you have some way to scan?
I bet I can figure it out. I
Okay.
don't have any way right now, but
Okay. Sometimes a smartphone, there's an you can use an app to do that. I don't know. The church copier has that ability to do that.
you do remember Claxton area, right? Okay, we're about as country and redneck as it gets here, so
I hear
we
you.
don't have a whole lot of those fancy things.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they brought you in, brother, to upgrade. Upgrade.
Yeah, they brought the real tech genius in, didn't they?
Yeah.
Don't feel bad, Mike. I'm in the same boat with you, my brother.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not a electronic literate or whatever. I'm just useless when it comes to electronics.
Well, if it makes you feel better, your teacher's not much ahead of you there, but I do need some way, and having it in some form like that. Hopefully, theoretically, if you can get it into an electronic form, gives you 2 copies. I've got notebooks that go back to 1988 when I was a freshman at Faulkner University, and it's amazing in the process of time what can get lost in the shuffle. So having it electronically has saved me on more than one occasion. So
Sure.
I don't expect you to go back and retype it. So hopefully you can find a solution better than that, so that you don't have to do it. But of course, it helps you to also study for your midterm and your final when you type it in, maybe. But maybe you can avoid that. I'll leave that on.
Look at him laughing. Why are you laughing so much, Taylor? Because he knows that my head is about to explode. That's exactly why he's laughing. Because he knows
because I already got the answer for you.
Do you? Well, good.
Okay. You know when you type, when you write out your bulletins, who you send them to? How did they get into the program? How did they get into the bulletin?
I type my bulletins up.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
all right.
I type the bulletin articles, but I don't type notes like Samuel does because I don't type as fast as Samuel.
Please don't bring Samuel into this. Don't do it.
So here's the thing: Preacher and his work will also be equipping ourselves with the problem solving that's a part of everyday life.
Yeah.
I'm thankful to have 5 grown men in here, so I'm sure y'all get it figured out.
Well, you've got 3 or 4 grown men and 1 infant.
Decipher that.
All right. Milk or on the solid food, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Hebrews 5:14. That's good. Questions, comments, anything else before we close out? All right. Well, Larry, brother, why don't you lead us in a word of closing prayer, and we'll be done for today.
Yes, sir. Heavenly Father, we surely thank you for giving us this opportunity to come together to work out a plan and how to better ourselves to become more students in teaching your words. We thank you, Father, for Brother Pollard as he's going to lead us, Father, and teach us in the way we can be better and be able to teach your people, to teach your children, Father, to be more stronger in Christ, be more of spiritual minded and have the mind of Christ. Father, we pray that as we going through these lessons, we learn as much as we can and be as productive as we can and to build your kingdom, to build your church, Father, in the way it should grow, in the way that it will prosper. We thank you, Father, for the men, the brethren that's on the line tonight, this morning. And surely, Father, we pray that you will bless our family and pray that we all can grow together, learn together, and be productive together in Christ as we go forward in this year and next year as well. We thank you for all that you do for us. In Christ we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you,
brothers.
Mr. Neal.
All right.
Y'all have a great day.
You too.
You
Taylor,
too.
I'm gonna hold you to that. You're gonna help me figure out an answer to this problem. So I'm holding You cannot just say it now. I'm going to hold you to it.
I know. Well, Brother Pollard gave you part of the answer. You got a smartphone. You can
You just got to
take a
have to be
picture.
smart to work the phone.
No,
No,
that's
You can always do the voice to text. So if you write out all your notes and worst case scenario, you don't want to type it all out, you can always do the voice to
Yeah,
dictate.
you could just
You can just
that's a
talk
good point.
your
You just
notes.
speak it and he'll type it
And
for you.
You might have to go back and reformat it, make sure the words are
What?
there.
They can.
yeah.
Well, can you,
I'm gonna
can you just scan it? And
Hey,
Yeah,
scan
believe
it
it or not, hey,
you got a funeral you got to take care of. But
hey,
we may be
Stillwell,
in here
believe it
for a
or
minute.
not, they
Okay.
Stillwell,
Take
believe
care,
it or
Neil.
not, they have
The
color
Lord bless
TV
you as you
too.
figure it out, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
What
I
did you say, Samuel?
ought to get extra credit for helping you.
I said, believe it or not, Stillwell, they have colored TV too.
I've got a color TV. Yeah, it's fancy. And I got a
Y'all be
little
good.
thing. I got a little
I'll
thing where
I'll
I
see
do
y'all
like
later.
this instead of having to get up and
Alright.
change the channel. I can just do like that, and the channel changes. It's real fancy.
That's right.
Lord.
But how do you?
I
How
love
does
you
this
guys.
talk to text
I gotta
stuff
head
do?
out.
Okay, talks to text is real easy.
See you, Sam.
So when you take care, so when you hit your phone, go on the text. Like say you're going to text me something, you got to put an address in, and you hit the
Oh yeah,
bottom
I
of the
know how
mic.
talk to text works on a phone, but I'm talking about if I wanted to read my notes into my computer so it produces a digital. How do I do that? Do I have to buy an app?
I have Dragon Speech.
Well, how much is Dragon Speech? It's
about
probably
100
more than I'm willing to spend.
Exactly. It's like $159 or $200 right now. It was cheaper. You can get a home version.
What can you
But
do with you can do with a regular microphone, can't you? About
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when I
Well,
have
no, it
on-
comes with a microphone and everything.
yeah.
And I can talk. I talk right into it.
You can do with a regular microphone
Because
like
then
this.
I can go back and edit it and all my other stuff.
I might be able to just scan this stuff. I might be able to take my notes and scan it.
Well, it's the new year, brother. They need to come up with some more money for you. Tell them you need that. You need that program. It's called Dragon Speech.
I'm thinking like you, Michael. I'm gonna write my notes and probably just scan it. And
Figure out a way to scan it. That way I can take the scans and put them into the computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that. But you can type the text, like I said. You can still type the text on the phone, and then you can email. You can email your word text, your text to a doc, and it'll print out. Like I said, type the text is easy. You ain't got to spend no money. Use your phone. After you write all your notes, just read it, and guess what? It'll be. You ever see them long text messages?
Yeah.
Sometimes we get those are. You just gotta go in and straighten it out. It's all right. That's $25. Give you all that. It's $25.
$25 for what?
You know our going rate, brother. Don't be playing, brother. Nobody else is on the line. Cersei, no, I deal with Cersei too. That's $25.
$25 for the advice?
Of course.
Okay. Well, the check's in the mail.
Yeah, hey, you see
It might be there already, brother. You might want to go check your mailbox.
No, ain't no check. You know how to cash app, brother. Stop playing.
No. Well, I have cash app you plenty of money.
All right. Look, this is just a commentator on Hampton's, his commentator on 1 Corinthians. I got to do the second one.
All right. Well, my head's about to blow up. I got to go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you brother, y'all be good. I see you later on, Mike.
Yeah. Hey, Mike. You know every article he wants, every bulletin he wants. You just write that and put it in the church bulletin.
Of
That
course.
Yeah, because you might have to help me with you might have to edit my bulletins for me.
All right. I don't have a problem with that. I have no problem with bulletin article writing. That's something that I did a lot of. So
yeah, 300 words is short for me, Mike.
that's way. I'm gonna have to help you for sure because
That's what I'm saying.
You have no idea how to do 300 words or less.
That's what I'm saying.
You can't even do 300 words or less. Telling me how to get something from my notebook to digital, it would take you 1,000 words. So we're gonna work with you on the.
All right. Let me understand this.
That's a trade. So you
$25.
don't get to, no, you don't get to charge me $25 because I'm gonna help you with your editing.
Well, I better get off then before I get it stuck up in this.
$25 is not no. We're gonna call that a trade. Services for services. I'll help you with paring down your bulletin articles, and you can help me figure out how to get this thing where you can see my notebooks. There we go. It's a done deal. We shook on it.
All right. Cersei and Mike, y'all not too far from one another.
Really?
Yeah, he's down in Douglas, Mike.
Yeah, that's kind of
hour and a half, about an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's because it's the weird way to get down the state because he's kind of like, I don't know, I won't even say center line, but
yeah, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I'm nowhere near an interstate.
Yeah, he's in Claxton, Cersei.
Yeah,
he's in Claxton, Georgia.
Yeah,
just think about Claxton chickens and all that stuff. You'll be all right.
Yeah,
chicken capital of the United States.
I go through Claxton every time I go to Savannah. Go through Claxton. Go up to Reading.
Okay. Well, then I know exactly where you are in Douglas.
So it's good. Mike, I went down to Douglas and I preached to the congregation. He has a mixed congregation as well. And they're a smaller congregation, but they've been there for a while. So it'd be good for y'all to hook up, y'all exchange y'all information. So, that's one of the things with networking. And Mike, this is his first time in the school, so we're trying to help him integrate.
You're better to do that than me. You got more technology than I
got. I know that's why, but I'm still, guess what? It's a networking thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll be happy to help with how to deal with certain, things and requirements and stuff like that. But I can't help him with that LMS. I'm still my head still hurts every time I go into it.
Yeah, well, I'll deal with all that. Don't worry about that part.
You got that part. All right, bro.
All right, you take care. All right.
See you.
Oh, let me dang, I need in the stream.
You coming on at 1 o'clock?